Touch him one more time and see what happens. 3 grown men froze mid-stomp and whipped their heads toward the alley entrance. What they saw made them burst into the kind of laughter that echoes off brick walls. A tiny black girl stood there in the shadows, couldn't be more than 9 years old, wearing an oversized purple jacket that swallowed her whole, holding nothing but a dirty rubber ball. Her hair was pulled into 2 messy ponytails. One of her shoelaces was untied. She looked like she weighed about 60 pounds soaking wet. But her eyes? They were blazing with something these men had never seen before. Pure rage. The first guy, tall with a scar running down his cheek, bent over laughing. "Bro. What is this? Whose kid is this?" The second one wiped tears from his eyes. "Little mama thinks she's Captain America or something." The third attacker, massive, built like a refrigerator, took 3 steps toward her, still grinning. "Sweetheart, you better run home before you get dropped right next to this fool." He kicked the bleeding man at his feet. Hard. That bleeding man was Gavin Parker. Billionaire CEO. Tech genius. The kind of man who had senators on speed dial. But right now he was dying. And a 4th grader was his only hope. Sky planted her feet. Cocked her arm back like a major league pitcher. "Last chance," she said, her voice ice cold. "Walk away." They laughed harder. Biggest mistake of their lives. Welcome to Top Stories, family. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now because this story is about to take you on a ride you won't forget. To my day 1 subscribers, my real ones who've been here from the start, I love y'all. Thank you for showing up every single time. Before we jump in, let me pray over you real quick. God, I'm asking you right now to bless every single person watching this. Cover them with your protection. Bless their family, their health, their finances. Give them peace in the storm and strength when they feel weak. Let miracles happen in their life today. In Jesus' name, amen. Now let's get into it. Because what you're about to hear isn't just a story about saving a life. It's a story about what happens when the wrong people discover that one little girl has more power than an entire system built to silence her. 45 minutes earlier, Gavin Parker made the worst decision of his life. He decided to walk. Alone. At night. Through the south side. No security. No armed guards. No backup. Just him in his designer suit that cost more than most people's monthly rent, carrying a briefcase stuffed with property contracts worth $8 million. He'd just finished a meeting with some city officials about a development deal. Hotels. Condos. The kind of project that would push out half the neighborhood and make him even richer. But Gavin wanted to connect with the community. That's what he told his assistant. He wanted to walk these streets, see the neighborhood up close, understand the people whose lives he was about to change forever. Noble, right? Wrong. Because Gavin Parker didn't know the first rule of the South Side, rich men don't walk alone after dark. Ever. The alley cut between 2 abandoned buildings. Broken glass crunched under his expensive shoes. Somewhere nearby, a dog barked. A siren wailed in the distance. Then he heard them behind him. Footsteps. Multiple. Moving fast. Gavin's stomach dropped. He reached for his phone. Too late. Something metal, a pipe, maybe a bat, crashed into his shoulder blade. He went down hard, face first into the concrete. His phone skittered away into the darkness. His briefcase exploded open, papers flying everywhere like snow. "Evening, Mr. Parker," a voice said above him. Calm. Almost friendly. "We've been waiting for you." Gavin tried to push himself up. A boot slammed down on his back, pinning him to the ground like an insect. "Please," Gavin gasped, his cheek pressed against the filthy pavement. "I have money. Cash. Credit cards. Take whatever you want. Oh, we will, another voice said. But first, we're gonna teach you what happens to rich boys who think they can buy our neighborhood. The first kick caught him in the ribs. Something cracked. Pain exploded through his chest like lightning. The second kick hit his face. His nose shattered. Blood poured down his throat, choking him. This is for my cousin who got evicted when you bought his building. Crack. Another kick. This is for every family you pushed out. Slam. A fist to his kidney. And this? This is just because I don't like your face. Gavin tried to scream, but his mouth was full of blood and broken teeth. He tried to crawl, but his arms wouldn't work. His vision went blurry. Dark spots danced in front of his eyes. He was dying. Right here. In a filthy alley. Alone. All his billions couldn't save him now. But someone was watching. Someone small. Someone angry. Someone who was about to change everything. Sky hated the nights Grandma worked late. The apartment felt wrong without her. Too quiet. Too cold. The radiator clanked and hissed like it was angry. Shadows moved on the walls in ways that made Sky pull her blanket tighter. So she did what she always did when she couldn't sleep, she sat by the window with her ball and watched the neighborhood. She bounced it against the wall. Caught it. Bounced it. Caught it. Over and over. The rhythm calmed her down. Then she heard something that made her freeze. Shouting. Men's voices. Coming from the alley below. Sky pressed her nose against the cold glass and looked down. At first, all she saw was darkness. But then the moon came out from behind a cloud, and she saw them. 3 men. Circling someone on the ground. Beating him like he was nothing. You think you can just buy people, one of them yelled. You think money makes you God? Thud. A kick so hard Sky heard it from 3 floors up. The man on the ground wasn't moving much anymore. Just twitching. Groaning weakly. Finish him, another voice said. Cold. Final. Sky's heart hammered in her chest. Her hands started shaking. The ball almost slipped from her grip. Grandma's voice echoed in her head, baby girl, when you see trouble, you look the other way. You keep your head down and you stay safe. The streets don't care about heroes. Sky had always listened to Grandma. Always stayed out of trouble. Always minded her business. But right now, watching a man get murdered 3 stories below her window. Staying quiet felt like murder too. The man on the ground tried one last time to crawl away. His hand reached toward the street, fingers stretching for help that wasn't coming. One of the attackers laughed and stomped on his outstretched fingers. Bones crunched. The man screamed, a sound so awful it made Sky's stomach turn. Nobody's coming to save you, rich boy, the attacker said. Nobody even cares. Sky looked down at her ball. The same ball she'd practiced with every single day for 3 years. The same ball that never missed when she aimed for the target chalked on the wall downstairs. Grandma also taught her something else. When you see wrong, baby, you don't have to fight it with your fists. Sometimes all you need is good aim and the courage to throw. Sky stood up. Opened her window wider. The cold night air hit her face. Her hands stopped shaking. She pulled her arm back. And she aimed for the biggest guy's head. Please don't miss, she whispered to herself. Please, God, don't let me miss. Sky didn't think. Didn't plan. Didn't hesitate. She just threw. Her window was already cracked open from earlier that day when the apartment got too hot. She shoved it wider, the old wood creaking loud enough to make her wince. But the men down below were too busy laughing and kicking to hear anything. Sky leaned out. Way out. Her small body hanging half out the window 3 stories above concrete. The wind whipped her face. Her ponytails flew back. One slip and she'd fall. One wrong move and she'd be the one dying tonight. But she didn't think about that. She thought about the target. The biggest guy. The one doing most of the damage. The one who just said, "Finish him." His head. That's where she aimed. Sky had been practicing her throw since she was 6 years old. Every single day after school, she'd go to the wall behind the building and throw for hours. She could hit a soda can from 30 feet away. Could knock a bottle off a fence post without even trying hard. But this? This was different. This wasn't practice. This was life or death. "Please work," she whispered. "Please, please work." She wound up. Pulled her arm all the way back. Felt the weight of the ball in her hand, not heavy, but solid. Real. Then she released. The ball cut through the night air like a missile. Fast. Silent. Perfect. Crack. It slammed into the big guy's temple so hard the sound echoed off the alley walls. He dropped like someone cut his strings. Just collapsed. 1 second standing, the next second flat on his back, groaning and holding his head. What the second attacker spun around, looking everywhere. Who did that? The third guy grabbed his friend. Yo, where'd that come from? Sky ducked back from the window, her heart pounding so hard she thought it might explode. Her hands were shaking now. Her legs felt like water. But she wasn't done. She grabbed her backup ball, an old tennis ball she kept on the windowsill, and leaned out again. The 2 standing attackers were looking around like confused dogs, trying to figure out where the attack came from. The big guy was still on the ground, moaning, blood trickling from where the ball had split his skin. Sky aimed for the second guy. Threw. Smack. Hit him right in the back of the head. He stumbled forward, cursed, grabbed his skull. "Somebody's throwing stuff at us," he yelled. That's when the light started coming on. Windows all down the block suddenly glowed yellow. People woke up. People heard the commotion. People started looking out. Yo! What's going on down there? Is that blood? Somebody call the police. Doors opened. More voices. More people. The alley that had been dark and empty seconds ago was suddenly full of witnesses. The 3 attackers looked at each other. The big one finally staggered to his feet, still holding his bleeding head. "We got a GO, the second one said. "Now," the third one added. They ran. Fast. Stumbling over each other, leaving the bleeding man behind, disappearing into the shadows like cockroaches when the light comes on. Sky stood at her window, breathing hard, watching them go. Then she looked down at the man on the ground. He wasn't moving. "No, no, no," Sky whispered. "Don't be dead. Please don't be dead." She grabbed her ball, the first one, the one that had saved his life, and ran. Out her apartment door. Down 3 flights of stairs. Her untied shoelace flapping. Her heart in her throat. By the time she got to the alley, people were already gathering. Mr. Chen from the corner store. Miss Rita in her bathrobe. The Johnsons with their teenage son. And in the middle of it all, the man. Still on the ground. Still bleeding. But breathing. She could see his chest moving up and down. Sky pushed through the crowd, small enough to slip between the adults. Her ball had rolled next to his hand. She picked it up, held it tight against her chest. That's when his eyes opened. Just barely. Just slits. But he was looking right at her. "You." He whispered, his voice like broken glass. "You threw that ball." Sky nodded, unable to speak. The man tried to smile, but his split lip made him wince instead. Blood covered his teeth. "Thank you," he breathed out. Sirens screamed in the distance. Getting closer. Red and blue lights started bouncing off the buildings. The crowd got louder. More people showed up. Everyone talking at once. But Sky just stood there, staring at the man she'd saved, holding her ball like it was the most important thing in the world. Because right now, it was. That one rubber ball had just changed 2 lives forever. She just didn't know how much yet. The paramedics arrived 6 minutes later, but it felt like hours. Sky stood frozen at the edge of the crowd, watching as 2 EMTs rushed toward the bleeding man with a stretcher and medical bags. Their radios crackled with codes she didn't understand. Their hands moved fast, checking his pulse, shining lights in his eyes, wrapping bandages around his head. "Sir, can you hear me?" one of them asked loudly. "Sir, what's your name?" The man's eyes fluttered open. His mouth moved, but barely any sound came out. "Gavin," he mumbled through swollen lips. "Gavin Parker." The younger EMT's eyes went wide. He looked at his partner. "Wait. Gavin Parker? Like the Gavin Parker? The billionaire?" the older one whispered back. "Yeah. They worked faster after that. Loading him onto the stretcher. Hooking up in 4. Radioing the hospital to prepare for a VIP patient. 2 police cars pulled up, officers jumping out with flashlights and notepads. One of them, a tall woman with her hair pulled back tight, immediately started pushing people back. "Everybody step away from the scene. This is now a crime scene. Back up." But her partner, a shorter man with kind eyes, walked straight to Sky. "Hey there, sweetheart," he said, crouching down to her level. "You live around here?" Sky nodded, still clutching her ball. "You see what happened?" She nodded again. "Can you tell me?" Sky's throat felt tight. Her voice came out small and shaky. 3 men. They were beating him. Real bad. I saw it from my window. The officer wrote in his notepad. "And then what?" "I threw my ball," she said quietly. "Hit one of them in the head. They ran away." The officer stopped writing. He looked at her. Really looked at her. "You threw a ball? From where?" Sky pointed up at her window. 3 stories. The officer's mouth fell open. "From up there? And you hit one of them?" "Yes, sir." That's incredible." He looked at her ball. "Can I see that for a second?" Sky handed it to him. He turned it over in his hands, examining it. There was a tiny bit of blood on one side. "This is evidence," he said gently. "I'm going to need to keep it for now. Is that okay?" Sky's heart sank. That was her ball. Her only ball. The one Grandma gave her. But she nodded. "Okay. We'll get it back to you, I promise," he said. "What's your name?" "Sky." "Sky what?" "Sky, just Sky." The officer smiled softly. "All right, just Sky. You did a really brave thing tonight. Really brave." But Sky didn't feel brave. She felt scared. Shaky. Like her legs might give out any second. Across the alley, the paramedics were loading Gavin Parker into the ambulance. Just before they closed the doors, his eyes found Sky one more time in the crowd. Even through all the blood and swelling, she could see something in his face. Gratitude. Recognition. Like he was trying to memorize her. Then the doors slammed shut. The sirens wailed. The ambulance sped away into the night. "All right, everybody," the female officer shouted. "Show's over. Go back to your homes." The crowd started breaking up slowly. People talking in low voices. Some shaking their heads. Others pulling out phones to call family members and tell them what happened. Mr. Chen walked over to Sky. "You need me to walk you back upstairs, little one?" Sky shook her head. "I'm okay." "You sure? That was pretty heavy stuff you just saw." "I'm sure." But she wasn't sure. Not really. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Her heart wouldn't slow down. She walked back to her building, climbed the 3 flights of stairs, went into her apartment, and locked the door behind her. The apartment felt even quieter now. Even colder. Sky went to her window and looked down at the alley. Police tape stretched across both ends now. Yellow. Bright. Crime scene investigators were taking photos, measuring distances, collecting evidence. She sat on the floor, knees pulled to her chest, and stared at her empty hands. Her ball was gone. The man was gone. And somehow, everything felt different now. Like she'd opened a door she couldn't close. Like she'd stepped into something way bigger than a 9-year-old girl from the South Side was supposed to handle. The clock on the wall said 2:47 a.m. Grandma wouldn't be home until 7 o'clock. Sky pulled her blanket around her shoulders and waited. For what, she didn't know. But something told her this night was just the beginning. Something told her that throwing that ball had changed her life in ways she couldn't even imagine yet. And somewhere across the city, in a hospital emergency room, Gavin Parker was thinking the exact same thing. By sunrise, Sky's face was everywhere. She woke up on the floor by the window, hadn't even made it to her bed, to the sound of her grandmother's key turning in the lock. "Baby girl." Grandma Evelyn's voice called out. "Sky. You awake?" Sky pushed herself up, her neck stiff from sleeping in a weird position. "In here, Grandma." Evelyn walked into the room and stopped dead. Her eyes were red. Her hands were shaking. She was holding her phone like it might explode. "Baby," she said slowly. "Tell me the truth right now. Did you throw something at some men in the alley last night?" Sky's stomach dropped. "How did you? How did I know?" Evelyn's voice rose. "Child, you're on the news. Every station. Every channel. My phone's been ringing non-stop for the past hour." She turned her phone around. The screen showed a news report. The headline read, "9-year-old girl saves billionaire from brutal attack." And there, in grainy footage someone had filmed from their window, was Sky. Standing at her window. Arm pulled back. Throwing. "Oh no," Sky whispered. "Oh no is right." Evelyn sat down hard on the couch. "Baby, do you have any idea what you've done?" "I saved someone's life," Sky said quietly. "You put yourself in danger." Evelyn's voice cracked. "Those men could have come back. They could have hurt you. They could have." She stopped, her hands covering her face. Sky walked over and climbed onto the couch next to her grandmother. "I'm okay, Grandma. I promise. They didn't even see me." "That don't matter." Evelyn pulled her close, holding her tight. "That don't matter at all." They sat like that for a long time. Just holding each other. The morning light streaming through the window. The sounds of the neighborhood waking up outside. Then Evelyn's phone rang again. She looked at the screen and frowned. "It's a number I don't know." "Don't answer it," Sky said. But Evelyn answered anyway. "Hello." A pause. Her eyes went wide. "Yes, this is her grandmother." "Who's asking?" Another pause. "Channel 7 News." "No, we don't want to do no interview." "No, she ain't available." "No, you cannot come to our building." "Goodbye." She hung up. The phone rang again immediately. This time it was Channel 4. Then Channel 2. Then some radio station. Then a podcast. Then a newspaper. By 9 a.m., there were news vans parked on their street. Sky peeked out the window and saw them. 3 vans. Reporters with microphones. Cameramen with huge cameras. All of them staring up at their building. "We can't go outside," Evelyn said firmly. "Not today. Maybe not for a few days." "What about school?" "You're staying home." "Grandma. I said you're staying home." Evelyn's voice was sharp. Then softer, "Please, baby. Just for now. Until this dies down." But it didn't die down. By noon, the story had gone national. CNN picked it up. Fox News. MSNBC. Twitter was exploding with the hashtag #ballgirl. Someone had already made memes. TikTok videos. Reaction clips. Sky sat on the couch, watching her life turn into entertainment, and felt sick. "I just wanted to help," she said quietly. Evelyn sat beside her, arm around her shoulders. "I know, baby. I know." At 2:37 p.m., there was a knock on the door. Evelyn jumped up. "If that's another reporter, I swear." But when she looked through the peephole, she froze. "It's the police," she whispered to Sky. "2 officers." She opened the door, keeping the chain on. "Can I help you?" "Mrs. Boone," the kind-eyed officer from last night said. "We need to speak with Sky. Just for a few minutes. We have some follow-up questions." Evelyn hesitated, then let them in. The officers sat across from Sky in the tiny living room. They asked her to describe everything she saw. Every detail. They took notes. Recorded her statement. "The 3 men got away," the female officer said. "But we're working on identifying them. Your ball had DNA evidence, blood and skin cells. We should have results soon. When do I get my ball back?" Sky asked. The officers looked at each other. "That ball is evidence in an attempted murder case," the male officer said gently. "It might be a while." Sky's throat got tight. "But it's mine. It's the only one I have. We'll get it back to you as soon as we can," he promised. "I swear." After they left, Evelyn made Sky hot chocolate and grilled cheese, her comfort meal. They sat together on the couch, curtains closed, TV off, just existing in the quiet. "Grandma?" Sky said after a while. "Yeah, baby. Do you think he'll remember me? The man I saved?" Evelyn looked at her granddaughter. This tiny girl who'd just done something most grown people wouldn't have the courage to do. "Baby," she said softly. "I don't think that man's ever gonna forget you." And across town, in a private hospital room with a view of the city, Gavin Parker lay in bed with a broken nose, cracked ribs, and stitches across his forehead. His assistant had just shown him the news coverage. Shown him the footage of the little girl at the window. Told him her name. Sky. Gavin stared at the screen, at this 9-year-old child who'd saved his life with nothing but a rubber ball and courage. "Find out where she lives," he told his assistant quietly. "Sir, the family isn't doing interviews." "I don't want an interview," Gavin interrupted. "I want to thank her. In person." His assistant hesitated. "Sir, the media attention is intense. If you show up at their home, then we'll deal with it," Gavin said firmly. "That little girl saved my life. The least I can do is look her in the eye and say thank you." He picked up his phone, the screen was cracked but it still worked, and stared at the news article about Sky. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. 3 days passed before Gavin Parker was strong enough to leave the hospital. His face was still a mess, one eye swollen half shut, stitches running across his forehead like train tracks, his jaw bruised purple and yellow. His ribs were wrapped so tight he could barely breathe. Every step hurt. Every breath was a reminder of how close he'd come to dying in that alley. But he didn't care about the pain. He cared about finding the girl who saved him. His assistant, Marcus, a nervous guy in his 30s who'd worked for Gavin for 5 years, drove him to the south side on Thursday afternoon. The black Mercedes looked wrong on these streets. Too shiny. Too expensive. People stared as it rolled past. "Sir, are you absolutely sure about this?" Marcus asked for the 10th time. "The family hasn't responded to any of our calls. Maybe they want privacy." "I'm sure," Gavin said, staring out the window at the neighborhood. Cracked sidewalks. Buildings with peeling paint. Corner stores with bars on the windows. He'd driven past this area 1,000 times on his way to meetings, never really seeing it. Never caring. Now he couldn't stop looking. Marcus pulled up in front of a worn brick building. 4 stories. Fire escape hanging crooked. A group of teenagers on the stoop stopped talking and watched them with suspicious eyes. "That's the building," Marcus said, checking his phone. "Apartment 3C. Gavin got out slowly, every movement making his ribs scream. The teenagers stood up. "You lost, man?" one of them asked. Not threatening. Just curious. "No," Gavin said. "I'm looking for someone. A girl named Sky." The teenagers exchanged looks. "You a cop?" another one asked. "No. I'm." Gavin paused. "I'm the guy she saved." Their attitudes shifted immediately. Eyes went wide. "Wait, you're the billionaire," the first kid said. "The one from the news?" Gavin nodded. "Yo, that's crazy." They crowded around him now, all talking at once. "She really threw that ball from up there? That's like superhero stuff. You here to give her money or something?" "I'm here to say thank you," Gavin said simply. One of the girls pointed to the door. "3rd floor. But her grandma don't like strangers. You better have a good reason for knocking." Gavin climbed the stairs, each step sending pain shooting through his chest. The hallway smelled like cooking spices and old carpet. Someone's TV was too loud. A baby cried somewhere behind a closed door. He found apartment 3C and knocked. Gentle. Respectful. Nothing. He knocked again. "Mrs. Boone. My name is Gavin Parker. I just want to talk. Please." The door opened, but only a crack. A chain lock held it in place. An older woman's face appeared in the gap, dark skin, sharp eyes, gray hair pulled back in a bun. She looked him up and down like she was deciding whether to slam the door in his face. "I know who you are," Evelyn said, her voice flat. "Saw your face on every channel for 3 days straight." "Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry to just show up like this, but you're rich and you're used to getting what you want," she finished. "Even when people say no." Gavin flinched. "That's not. I'm not here to cause problems. I just want to thank Sky. Face to face. She saved my life." Evelyn stared at him for a long moment. "You know how many reporters knocked on this door? How many phone calls we got? My grandbaby can't even go outside without cameras in her face." "I know," Gavin said quietly. "And I'm sorry. I didn't ask for any of that. But I still owe her my life." Behind Evelyn, a small voice called out, "Who is it, Grandma?" Evelyn glanced back, then sighed. She closed the door. For a second, Gavin thought she was sending him away. Then he heard the chain sliding. The door opened fully. "5 minutes," Evelyn said. "That's all you get." Gavin stepped inside. The apartment was tiny, smaller than his walk-in closet, but clean. Neat. Photos on every wall. A cross above the TV. The smell of something baking in the kitchen. And there, sitting on a worn couch that had been patched with duct tape, was Sky. She looked even smaller in person. Her hair was in fresh braids now. She wore an oversized hoodie and sweatpants. Her feet didn't touch the floor when she sat. But her eyes? Same eyes from the alley. Sharp. Watching. Missing nothing. "Hi," Gavin said softly, staying near the door. "I'm Gavin." "I know who you are," Sky said. "You're all over the news." "So are you." She looked down at her hands. "I didn't want to be." Gavin took a careful step closer. "Can I sit?" Sky glanced at her grandmother, who nodded. Gavin lowered himself into a chair across from the couch, wincing as his ribs protested. "Does it hurt?" Sky asked. "Yeah," he admitted. "But I'm alive to feel it. Because of you." Silence filled the room. Evelyn stood by the kitchen doorway, arms crossed, watching everything. "I came here to say thank you," Gavin continued. "And to ask if there's anything I can do. Anything you need. Your family. I owe you my life, Sky." "You don't owe me nothing," Sky said quickly. "I just did what anybody should have done." "But nobody else did," Gavin said. "They heard. They saw. But you were the only one who acted." He leaned forward. "How old are you?" 9. 9 years old, he repeated, shaking his head. "And you have more courage than anyone I've ever met." Sky shifted uncomfortably. "I just threw a ball." "You threw it from 3 stories up. In the dark. And hit your target perfectly." Gavin smiled, even though it hurt his split lip. "That's not luck. That's skill." For the first time, Sky's face softened a little. Almost smiled. "I practice a lot." "Where?" "Behind the building. There's a wall. I draw targets and throw at them every day after school." Gavin pulled out his phone, the cracked one, and opened his notes app. "What if you had a real place to practice? With real equipment? Coaches? A team?" Evelyn stepped forward. "Hold on now. We don't need your charity." "It's not charity," Gavin interrupted gently. "It's a thank you. And an investment." He looked at Sky. "You have a gift. A real one. And gifts like that shouldn't be wasted throwing at brick walls." Sky looked at her grandmother. Then back at Gavin. "What kind of place?" "A field," Gavin said. "A real one. With bases and a pitcher's mound and lights so you can practice even after dark. For you and other kids from the neighborhood who want to play." "That costs a lot of money," Sky said quietly. "I have a lot of money," Gavin replied. "And for the first time in my life, I want to spend it on something that actually matters." Evelyn shook her head. "Rich people always say stuff like this. Then they disappear when the cameras leave." Gavin looked her straight in the eye. "I'm not going anywhere. I promise." "Promises are cheap," Evelyn shot back. "Then let me prove it," Gavin said. "Give me a chance. Please." The apartment fell quiet again. Somewhere outside, a siren wailed past. Someone laughed in the hallway. Finally, Sky spoke. "Can I get my ball back first?" Gavin blinked. "Your ball." "The police took it. For evidence. It's the only one I have." Something twisted in Gavin's chest. This girl saved his life and lost the one thing she cared about in the process. "I'll get you 10 balls," he said. 100 if you want." "I don't want 100, Sky said firmly. "I want my ball. The one my grandma gave me." Gavin nodded slowly. "I'll make some calls. See what I can do." Okay, Sky said. Then, after a pause, and yeah. You can build the field. Evelyn's eyes went wide. Baby. But, Sky continued, looking at Gavin hard, if you mess this up. If you make promises and don't keep them, I'll throw another ball at your head. And I won't miss. Despite everything, the pain, the fear, the uncertainty, Gavin laughed. Really laughed. Deal, he said. They shook hands. Her small hand disappeared in his. And in that moment, something changed. Not just for them, but for the entire neighborhood. Because when a billionaire makes a promise to a 9-year-old girl who saved his life, the world starts watching. 2 weeks later, Gavin Parker kept his word. Sky stood on the corner of Roosevelt and 5th Street with her grandmother, staring at something she never thought she'd see in her neighborhood. Construction trucks. Real ones. 3 of them parked around the old vacant lot, the same lot where kids used to find broken needles and shattered beer bottles. The same lot everyone avoided after dark. But now there were workers in hard hats unloading equipment. Shovels. Wooden planks. Bags of concrete mix. Metal poles that looked like they'd become fence posts. And right in the middle of it all, wearing jeans and a plain white t-shirt instead of an expensive suit, was Gavin Parker. His face still had fading bruises. The stitches were gone but the scars remained. He moved carefully, like his ribs still hurt. But he was there. Actually there. Holding a clipboard and talking to the foreman like he'd done this his whole life. I can't believe it, Evelyn whispered, one hand over her mouth. He actually came back. Sky didn't say anything. Just watched. Waiting to see if this was real or if it would all disappear like smoke. That's when Gavin looked up and saw them. His whole face changed, broke into a genuine smile that reached his eyes. Sky, he called out, waving. Get over here. I need your help. Sky glanced at her grandmother, who nodded. She walked over slowly, stepping around puddles and construction equipment. What do you need help with? She asked when she reached him. Gavin crouched down, wincing a little, so they were eye level. This is your field. So you get to make the first decision. He pointed to a spot near what would become home plate. What color should the dugout be? Sky blinked. You're asking me. It's your field, he repeated. Your call. She looked around at the empty lot. Tried to picture it finished. Painted. Beautiful. Blue, she said finally. Dark blue. Like the night sky. Gavin wrote it down on his clipboard. Blue it is. What else? Else? Yeah. Bases. Fence. The backstop. You're the captain of this field. You decide. Captain. The word made something warm spread through Sky's chest. White bases, she said, more confident now. And the fence should be green. Real green. Like grass. Done. He kept writing. Anything else? Sky thought hard. Lights. Really bright ones. So kids can practice even when it gets dark early. Gavin's smile faded a little. Got softer. That's a good idea. A really good idea. By noon, word had spread through the neighborhood. Kids started showing up. First just a few, then more. Curious faces peeking through the chain-link fence, watching the workers dig and measure and build. Sky recognized some of them from school. Jamal from her math class. Twin sisters named Maya and Mara who lived 2 buildings down. A quiet kid everyone called Tick because he was always bouncing his leg. Is this for real? Jamal asked, pressing his face against the fence. Like, we can actually play here? Yeah, Sky said. It's for everyone. Even me? Asked Tick. He was tall for 11, skinny, with a scar above his eyebrow. "I ain't never played baseball before." "Even you," Sky confirmed. By 3 o'clock, there were maybe 20 kids watching. By 4, even more. Parents started showing up too, standing back with crossed arms, whispering to each other. Skeptical but curious. Gavin walked over to the fence and addressed the crowd. "Hey, everyone. I'm Gavin. Some of you probably saw me on the news getting my butt kicked." A few kids giggled. Some adults didn't laugh at all. "This field is going to be for you," Gavin continued. "Free. No fees. No tryouts. No cutting kids who aren't good enough. If you want to play, you play. That's the rule." "Why?" one of the mothers called out. "What's the catch?" "No catch," Gavin said simply. "A little girl from this neighborhood saved my life. This is me trying to give something back." "Rich people always say that," another parent muttered. "Then they build something and kick us out when property values go up." Gavin looked right at the woman who spoke. "I can't make you believe me with words. I can only show you with actions. So I'm asking you to give me a chance. Watch what I do. Hold me accountable. And if I mess up, call me out." The crowd stayed quiet. Uncertain. That's when Evelyn stepped forward. "I didn't trust him either," she said loudly. "Still not sure I do completely. But he showed up. That's more than most people do. So I say we let him prove himself." A few people nodded. Slowly. "And if he messes up," Evelyn added with a pointed look at Gavin, "we know where he lives now." That got some laughs. Real ones. Over the next week, the lot transformed. The ground got leveled. A proper pitcher's mound rose from the dirt. White bases got installed, exactly where Sky said they should go. The dugout got built and painted dark blue, just like she requested. And Gavin? He showed up every single day. Sometimes in the morning before his business meetings. Sometimes in the evening after them. Once he came at 10 at night just to check on something. The kids started calling him Coach Gavin, even though he kept saying he wasn't a coach. "I don't know anything about baseball," he admitted to Sky one afternoon while they watched workers install the backstop. "Then why are you building a baseball field?" she asked. "Because you know about baseball," he said. "And because this neighborhood deserves something good. Something permanent." Sky was quiet for a moment. Then, "You got my ball back yet?" Gavin winced. "Still working on it. The police are being difficult about releasing evidence." "You promised." "I know. And I will. I swear." 2 days later, a silver car pulled up with tinted windows. A man in a polo shirt got out carrying an equipment bag. "Who's that?" Sky asked. Gavin smiled. "That's Coach Marcus. Real coach. Used to play minor league. I hired him to teach you kids the right way to play." Coach Marcus was young, maybe 30, with kind eyes and an easy smile. He walked over and shook Sky's hand. "You must be the famous Sky," he said. "Heard you've got an arm on you." "I'm okay," Sky said quietly. "Let's see." He pulled a ball from his bag, brand new, bright white, official league ball, and handed it to her. "Show me what you got." Sky looked at the ball. It felt wrong in her hand. Too new. Too perfect. Not like her ball. But she wound up anyway. Threw toward the backstop they'd just installed. The ball smacked dead center with a crack that echoed across the lot. Coach Marcus's eyebrows shot up. "Okay. Okay. Yeah, you're way better than okay." Other kids were watching now. Jealous. Impressed. Curious. "Can you teach me?" Jamal called out. Me too, Maya added. Everyone, Coach Marcus said loudly. If you want to learn, I'm here 3 days a week. Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays. Bring yourselves. I'll bring the equipment. That Saturday, 17 kids showed up. They ranged from 7 years old to 14. Different sizes. Different skill levels. Some had gloves. Most didn't. But they all had something in common, hope. For 3 hours, Coach Marcus ran drills. How to hold a bat. How to field a grounder. How to slide without breaking your ankle. And through it all, Gavin sat in a folding chair on the side, watching. Smiling. Taking notes. Sometimes answering work emails. But mostly just being present. When practice ended and kids started heading home, Sky walked over to him. You're really staying, aren't you? She said. I told you I would. People say a lot of things. Gavin looked at her seriously. I'm not most people. Not anymore. He paused. You changed me, Sky. That night in the alley. You showed me what actually matters. Baseball? He laughed. No. People. Community. Being part of something bigger than yourself. He gestured at the field. This isn't charity. This is me learning how to be a better human being. Sky studied his face. Looking for lies. For cracks. For signs he'd disappear like everyone else eventually did. She didn't find any. Okay, she said finally. But I still want my ball back. I'm working on it, he promised. I swear I am. That night, Sky lay in bed staring at the ceiling. For the first time in months, maybe years, something felt different. It felt like things were changing. Getting better. It felt like hope. And 3 blocks away, in a hotel room that Gavin had been living in since the attack, he sat at his laptop researching youth sports programs, equipment suppliers, and legal requirements for nonprofit organizations. Because this wasn't just about building a field anymore. This was about building something that would last long after he was gone. Something that proved one night in an alley could change 2 lives, and maybe a whole neighborhood, forever. 6 weeks into the project, everything was going better than anyone expected. The field was nearly finished. Fresh dirt covered the infield. The grass in the outfield was coming in green and thick. The lights worked, big, bright stadium lights that turned night into day. The dugouts were painted that dark blue Sky had chosen, with benches that didn't wobble. Practice happened 3 times a week now. Sometimes 20 kids showed up. Sometimes 30. Coach Marcus taught them how to throw, how to hit, how to run the bases without tripping over their own feet. And Sky? She was getting better every single day. Her fastball was faster. Her aim was sharper. She could throw a curveball now that dropped so hard it looked like it fell off a table. You're a natural, Coach Marcus told her after practice one Thursday. Seriously. I've coached college players who can't throw like you. Sky shrugged, embarrassed. I just practice a lot. It's more than that, he said. You've got something special. That's when the new guy showed up. He pulled up in a beat-up Honda Civic, not fancy, not flashy, and got out wearing basketball shorts and a hoodie. He was maybe mid-20s, with a neat beard and a friendly smile that reached his eyes. Yo, is this the baseball program? He called out. Coach Marcus walked over. Yeah, who's asking? Name's Devin. Devin Harris. He extended his hand. I heard y'all were looking for an assistant coach. I used to play in high school. Thought maybe I could help out. Marcus looked him up and down. We weren't looking for anyone. Oh. Devin's face fell. My bad. I must have got bad info. I just moved to the neighborhood and heard about this place. Thought I'd shoot my shot. Gavin walked over, wiping dirt off his hands. You played ball. For years varsity, Devon said. Made all-conference junior year. Had a scholarship offer to a community college but... He shrugged. Life happened. Had to work instead. You coached before? Nah, but I'm good with kids. Patient. I know the game. Devon looked around at the field. This is really nice, man. Like, really nice. These kids are lucky. Something about him felt right. Easy. Genuine. Tell you what, Gavin said. Come back Saturday. Help Coach Marcus with practice. We'll see how it goes. Devon's face lit up. For real? Yeah, absolutely. I'll be here. Thank you, man. Seriously. He left smiling, waving at some of the kids as he walked back to his car. You trust him? Marcus asked Gavin quietly. I don't know him well enough to trust him, Gavin admitted. But everyone deserves a chance, right? That's what this whole place is about. That Saturday, Devon showed up early. He brought his own glove, worn leather, well-loved, and a bag of sunflower seeds to share with the kids. All right, team. He called out. Who wants to learn how to throw a knuckleball? The kids swarmed him. Devon was good. Really good. He knew how to explain things so kids understood. He never got frustrated when someone messed up. He made jokes that actually made people laugh. He knew every kid's name by the end of the first practice. Even Sky liked him. Your form's already pretty solid, Devon told her, watching her pitch. But if you turn your front foot just a little more, you'll get even more power. She tried it. The ball flew faster. See? He grinned. Small adjustments. That's all it takes. Over the next 3 weeks, Devon became a regular. He showed up to every practice. Stayed late to help clean up. Brought extra equipment from his own money, baseballs, batting gloves, a bucket of bats he'd found at a thrift store. The kids loved him. The parents trusted him. Even Evelyn said he seemed like good people. Gavin started paying him. Not much, just minimum wage for the hours he put in, but Devon acted like it was a fortune. Man, you don't have to pay me, he said. I'm just happy to help. You're working, Gavin said. You get paid. That's how it works. Devon nodded, folding the bills carefully into his wallet. I really appreciate this, Mr. Parker. You don't even know. Everything felt right. Perfect, even. But what nobody knew, what nobody could have known, was that Devon Harris had another phone in his car. A burner phone with only one number saved in it. And 3 nights a week, after practice ended and everyone went home, Devon sat in his car and made calls. Yeah, it's me, he'd say quietly. Practice went till 7 tonight. Parker stayed late talking to some parents. Security's just one guy, walks the perimeter every hour. The equipment shed isn't locked. Yeah, I can get you that info. Next Tuesday. That works. Because Devon Harris wasn't there to coach. He was there to watch. To learn. To report back to someone who had very different plans for this field. Someone who didn't want Gavin Parker building anything in this neighborhood. Someone who'd been waiting for the right moment to strike. And that moment was coming soon. But for now, on a warm Saturday afternoon with kids laughing and parents cheering and Sky throwing perfect strikes, nobody suspected a thing. Devon stood near the dugout, smiling his friendly smile, chewing sunflower seeds. Good practice today, Sky, he called out. You're getting scary good. Thanks, Coach Devon, she said, grinning. He waved, got in his car, and drove away. And as soon as he turned the corner, he pulled out that second phone and sent a text. They trust me now. Ready when you are. 3 dots appeared. Then a response. Good. Phase 2 starts Monday. Devon stared at the message for a long moment. His jaw tightened. His hands gripped the steering wheel. For just a second, he looked like a man who'd made a deal with the devil and was starting to regret it. But then his phone buzzed again. Don't forget what you owe me. Devon closed his eyes. Took a breath. Then he typed back. Monday morning came with a sky so clear and blue it felt like a promise. Sky woke up early, excited. Today was special. Gavin had announced they were going to have a soft opening for the field, invite the whole neighborhood to come see what they'd built. There'd be food trucks, music, games. A real celebration. She got dressed fast, pulled her hair into a ponytail, and practically ran the 3 blocks to the field. But when she turned the corner, she stopped dead. Her stomach dropped. The field was destroyed. Completely destroyed. Spray paint covered everything. The beautiful dark blue dugout was now covered in ugly words, curse words, threats, slurs that made Sky's eyes burn just reading them. Someone had painted a giant red X across the pitcher's mound. The bases had been ripped out of the ground and thrown into the outfield. One of them was broken in half. But the worst part? The dirt. Someone had poured something thick and black all over the infield. Oil, maybe. Or tar. It soaked into the ground in dark, spreading stains that reeked of chemicals. No, Sky whispered. No, no, no. She started running. Ran right onto the field, her shoes squelching in the oily mud. She grabbed one of the broken bases, held it like it might still be fixable. Behind her, she heard voices. Other people arriving. Gasping. Cursing. One woman started crying. Who would do this? Someone said. This is sick, another voice added. Just sick. Gavin's car screeched to a stop outside the fence. He jumped out, still wearing his suit from an early morning meeting, and just stood there staring. His face went white. Then red. Then something harder. Colder. He walked onto the field slowly, looking at everything. The spray paint. The broken equipment. The ruined ground. When he spoke, his voice shook with rage. Who did this? Who the hell did this? Nobody had an answer. Coach Marcus arrived next, took one look, and punched the fence post so hard his knuckles split. 6 weeks of work. 6 weeks. Devon showed up last, parking his Honda and walking over with wide eyes. Oh my God. What happened? Someone destroyed everything, Sky said, her voice breaking. Everything we built. Devon shook his head slowly, his face twisted with what looked like genuine shock and anger. This is messed up. Like, seriously messed up. Who would hate on kids like this? Police showed up 20 minutes later. Took photos. Asked questions. Wrote things down in little notebooks. But Sky could tell by their faces they didn't really care. Just another vandalism case in a poor neighborhood. They'd file a report and forget about it by lunch. We'll look into it, one officer said without much conviction. In the meantime, you might want to increase security. There was security. Gavin snapped. A guard walks this place every night. Where is he now? Good question. Nobody had seen the security guard that morning. Turned out, he'd called in sick. First time in 6 weeks. Convenient timing. By noon, news vans showed up again. Different story this time. Not feel good. Not inspiring. Just sad. Field for underprivileged kids destroyed in hate crime. Sky stood at the edge of the field with her arms wrapped around herself, watching reporters talk into cameras. Watching them make her pain into a story. Into content. into something people would scroll past while eating lunch. "You okay, kiddo?" Coach Marcus asked quietly, walking up beside her. She shook her head. "We worked so hard." "I know. Everybody was so happy." "I know. Why would someone do this?" Her voice cracked. "What did we do to anybody?" Marcus put a hand on her shoulder but didn't have an answer. Because there wasn't a good one. That afternoon, parents started calling. Pulling their kids out. "I'm sorry, but it's not safe," one mother said. "First the vandalism, next it might be something worse." "My kid was so excited," another dad told Gavin sadly. "But I can't risk it. Not after this." One by one, they withdrew. Apologizing. Looking guilty. But leaving anyway. By evening, only 5 kids remained committed. Down from 30. Sky sat on one of the dugout benches, the one that hadn't been spray-painted, and stared at the ruined field. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the oil stains. Gavin sat down next to her. He looked exhausted. Defeated. His tie was loose. His shirt was wrinkled. His eyes were red. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "For what?" "For thinking money could fix everything. For believing that just because we built something good, people would let it stay good." Sky picked at a thread on her jeans. "You think they'll come back? The people who did this?" "I don't know." "You think we should quit?" Gavin was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Do you want to quit?" Sky thought about it. Really thought about it. Part of her wanted to say yes. Wanted to walk away before things got worse. Before someone got hurt. But another part, the part that had thrown a ball from a third-story window to save a stranger's life, that part refused to give up. "No," she said finally. "I don't want to quit." Gavin looked at her. "Then we don't quit. We clean this up. We rebuild. We keep going. Even if nobody else shows up. Even if nobody else shows up." They sat there together as the sun disappeared and the streetlights flickered on. The field looked even worse in the artificial light. Like a crime scene. Like something that had died. But it wasn't dead yet. And neither were they. Across the street, sitting in his Honda with the lights off, Devin Harris watched them. His jaw was tight. His hands gripped the steering wheel until his knuckles turned white. His phone buzzed. A text. "Job well done. Payments in your account. Phase 3 next week." Devin stared at the message. At Sky and Gavin sitting on that bench. At the destroyed field he'd helped map out for the vandals. His hands started shaking. He'd needed the money. Owed the wrong people. Had no choice. But looking at that little girl's face right now, he was starting to realize that maybe some choices were worse than others. Maybe some debts weren't worth paying. His phone buzzed again. "You getting cold feet?" Devin closed his eyes. Took a breath. Then typed back. "No. I'm good. Just tell me what's next." He hit send. And hated himself a little more. 40 blocks uptown, in an office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, Councilman Alan Pierce sat behind his mahogany desk reading the morning news on his tablet. A thin smile spread across his face. Community field destroyed in overnight attack. Perfect. Alan Pierce was 52 years old. Silver hair. Expensive suits. A smile that made people trust him even when they shouldn't. He'd been on the city council for 12 years, and in those 12 years, he'd mastered one important skill. Making problems disappear. And right now, Gavin Parker's little charity project was a problem. Pierce had plans for the South Side. Big plans. A development deal worth $40 million. Luxury condos. High-end shops. The kind of place that would triple property values and push out everyone who currently lived there. But he needed that land. The exact land where the field now sat. He'd been trying to buy it for 3 years. Made offers. Applied pressure. Called in favors. But the city had refused to sell, citing community interest. Then Gavin Parker showed up and turned it into some feel-good story about helping poor kids. The news coverage was everywhere. The mayor loved it. The public ate it up. And Pierce's development deal? Dead in the water. Unless the field went away. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Phase 1 complete. Minimal resistance. Ready for Phase 2. Pierce typed back. Good. Increase pressure. I want that land abandoned within 2 weeks. 3 dots. Then. What if Parker doesn't quit? Pierce's smile turned cold. Then we make him. He deleted the conversation and set his phone down. On his wall hung photos of him with the mayor, the governor, senators. Ribbon-cutting ceremonies. Charity galas. Award presentations. The face of a man who cared about his community. But the truth? Alan Pierce didn't care about communities. He cared about money. Power. Legacy. And some little girl with a baseball wasn't going to ruin that. Meanwhile, across town in a cramped studio apartment, Devin Harris sat on the edge of his bed staring at his bank account on his phone. $10,000. Just deposited that morning. More money than he'd seen in 6 months. Enough to pay off the loan sharks who'd been threatening to break his legs. Enough to catch up on rent. Enough to breathe. But it felt like blood money. His other phone, his real phone, buzzed. A text from Coach Marcus. Practice canceled this week. Gonna focus on cleanup. You available to help Thursday? Devin stared at the message. Thought about Sky's face yesterday when she saw the destroyed field. Thought about the other kids who'd looked so excited to finally have something good. He'd helped destroy that. He'd taken Pierce's money, drawn a map of the field's layout, pointed out where security was weakest, even called the guard and told him he had a family emergency, so he wouldn't show up that night. All for $10,000. Devin typed back. Yeah, I can help. Let me know what time. He hit send and immediately felt sick. His roommate, Carlos, walked out of the bathroom. Yo, you good? You look like you're gonna throw up. I'm fine, Devin lied. That baseball gig working out? Yeah. It's good. Carlos grabbed a soda from the fridge. That's cool, man. You been different lately. Like, happier or whatever. Those kids must really like you. Devin's chest tightened. Yeah. They do. After Carlos left for work, Devin sat alone in the silence. His phone buzzed again. The burner this time. Phase 2, next Monday. Create distraction during practice. Door to equipment shed needs to be left unlocked. Confirm receipt. Devin stared at the message for a long time. Phase 2. More destruction. More pain. More lies. And he was right in the middle of it. His finger hovered over the keyboard. He could say no. Could refuse. Could come clean to Gavin and Sky and face whatever consequences came. But then he'd still owe the loan sharks. Still face eviction. Still be exactly where he was before Pierce's money saved him. He typed. Confirmed. And hated himself more than he thought possible. Back at the field, Gavin had called an emergency meeting. About 15 people showed up, parents, volunteers, Coach Marcus, and Sky with her grandmother. They gathered in a circle near the damaged dugout. The air smelled like chemicals and disappointment. I want to be straight with you, Gavin began. What happened here wasn't random. This was targeted. Someone doesn't want this field to exist. Who? Asked Mr. Chen from the corner store. I don't know yet. But I'm going to find out. Gavin's voice was hard. Determined. And when I do, they're going to regret it. What if they come back? A mother asked nervously. What if next time they come when the kids are here? Silence fell heavy. Then we protect the kids, Coach Marcus said firmly. Better security. Cameras. Locks on everything. That costs money, someone pointed out. I'll pay for it, Gavin said immediately. Whatever it takes. Evelyn spoke up, money ain't the problem. Fear is. These people, whoever they are, they want us scared. Want us to give up and go away. So what do we do? Sky asked quietly. Evelyn looked at her granddaughter. We don't give them what they want. But how? Sky pressed. Half the kids are gone. The field's destroyed. Everyone's scared. Then we show them there's something stronger than fear, Gavin said. We show them community. Courage. Refusal to quit. Pretty words, Mr. Chen said skeptically. But pretty words don't stop vandals. No, Gavin agreed. But cameras do. And security does. And police pressure does. I've already hired a private security firm. 24-hour surveillance starts tomorrow. I've contacted every news station in the city. I've reached out to the mayor's office demanding a full investigation. He looked around the circle. I'm not letting this go. And I'm asking you not to let it go either. Slowly, heads started nodding. Not everyone. But some. We'll give it one more week, one father said. But if anything else happens. If anything else happens, Gavin interrupted, I'll personally guarantee every child's safety. You have my word. After the meeting broke up, Sky stayed behind with Gavin and Coach Marcus. You really think you can stop them? She asked. I don't know, Gavin admitted. But I'm going to try. Devin walked over then, hands in his pockets. Need any help cleaning up? I got time. That'd be great, Marcus said. Grab a shovel. As Devin walked away to get equipment, Sky watched him go. Something felt off. She couldn't explain it. Just a feeling in her gut. You trust him? She asked quietly. Devin. Gavin looked surprised. Yeah, why? I don't know. Just asking. But it wasn't just asking. It was instinct. The same instinct that had told her to throw that ball from her window. And right now, that instinct was screaming that something was very, very wrong. She just didn't know what yet. But she would. Soon. Sky couldn't sleep that night. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, her mind racing. Something about Devin didn't sit right. The way he'd shown up at the perfect time. The way he always asked questions about schedules, security, who had keys to what. At 2 a.m., she gave up trying to sleep and grabbed her grandmother's old laptop. She typed into Google, Devin Harris baseball coach. Nothing came up. No teams. No records. No photos. She tried Devin Harris high school baseball. Still nothing. That was weird. He'd said he played 4 years varsity. Made all conference. Almost got a scholarship. Someone who played that well would have some record online. Some newspaper article. Some team photo. But there was nothing. Like he'd never played at all. Sky's stomach twisted. She kept digging. Tried social media. Found 3 Devin Harrisas in the area, but none of them matched. 2 were way older. 1 was white. At 3:15 a.m., she found something that made her blood run cold. A news article from 8 months ago. Local man arrested in connection with loan shark operation. There was a photo. Grainy. Taken from a distance. But the face. It looked like Devon. Same beard. Same build. Same eyes. The article said charges were dropped due to lack of evidence, but the man, identified only as D. Harris, had been questioned in connection with a violent debt collection ring. Sky's hands shook as she screenshotted the article. Maybe it was a different person. Maybe it was a coincidence. But maybe it wasn't. She had to tell Gavin. The next morning, Sky showed up at the field at 7 a.m. Gavin's car was already there. He'd been sleeping in his office, a converted storage container he'd set up on site. She knocked on the metal door. "Come in," his tired voice called. Gavin looked rough. Unshaven. Dark circles under his eyes. Coffee cups everywhere. Papers spread across a makeshift desk. "Sky. What are you doing here so early? I need to show you something." She pulled out her grandmother's laptop and opened the article. "Look at this." Gavin leaned forward, reading. His face got serious fast. "Where'd you find this?" "I couldn't sleep. So I looked up Devon." "And Mr. Gavin?" She looked at him hard. "He lied. He said he played 4 years varsity baseball. But there's no record of him anywhere. No team photos. No stats. Nothing." Gavin sat back slowly. "You think he's lying about playing?" "I think he's lying about everything." They stared at each other. "That's a serious accusation," Gavin said carefully. "You understand that, right? If you're wrong." "I'm not wrong." Sky's voice was firm. "Something's off about him. I felt it from the start. I just didn't want to say anything because everyone else liked him." Gavin rubbed his face. "Let me make some calls. See what I can find out. What if he's working with whoever destroyed the field?" That thought hung in the air like poison. "Then we have a much bigger problem," Gavin said quietly. By noon, Gavin had answers. He'd called a private investigator, someone who owed him a favor. Asked them to run a background check on Devon Harris. The results came back fast. Devon Harris. Age 27. No criminal record, the charges from 8 months ago had been dropped. But he did have something interesting, recent bank deposits. $10,000, paid out in cash 2 days after the field was vandalized. The money had come from an LLC registered to a shell company. The kind of company people used when they didn't want their names attached to something. And when the investigator dug deeper into the shell company, it led back to Councilman Alan Pierce. Son of a, Gavin slammed his fist on the desk. "What?" Sky asked. "What did you find?" Gavin looked at her with eyes that burned with rage. "Devon's been paid off. He's been feeding someone information about this field. And that someone is a city councilman named Alan Pierce." Sky felt like she'd been punched in the stomach. "Coach Devon. He helped destroy the field. It looks that way. But why? Why would he do that?" Gavin pulled up a file on his computer. Showed her Pierce's photo, a man in an expensive suit shaking hands with the mayor. "This man wants this land for a development deal. Luxury condos. He's been trying to buy it for years. Our field is in his way. So he sent Devon to spy on us. Looks like it." Sky felt tears burning her eyes. Not sad tears. Angry tears. The kind that made your whole body shake. "He taught me how to pitch better," she said, her voice breaking. "He said I was special. He brought us snacks. He learned everyone's names. I know. And the whole time he was lying." Her voice rose. "The whole time he was helping someone destroy what we built." Gavin reached across the desk and took her hand. I'm sorry, Sky. I'm so sorry. We trusted him. Tears rolled down her face now. All of us. The kids loved him. And he was just using us. She pulled her hand away and stood up, pacing the small office like a caged animal. What do we do? She asked. How do we stop them? I don't know yet. But we will. Gavin's voice was steel. We're going to expose Pierce. We're going to expose Devon. And we're going to make sure everyone knows what they did. When? Soon. But we need proof. Real proof. Not just bank records and suspicions. Sky wiped her eyes. What kind of proof? Gavin thought for a moment. We need to catch them in the act. Get them on camera or recording admitting what they've done. How? A slow, dangerous smile spread across Gavin's face. We set a trap. That evening, practice was scheduled. Only 8 kids showed up, down from 30. But they showed up. That meant something. Devon arrived right on time, smiling his usual smile, carrying his worn glove. What's up, team? He called out cheerfully. Sky watched him from across the field. Watched him joke with the kids. Watched him help a 7-year-old grip a bat correctly. Watched him be exactly the person everyone thought he was. And it made her sick. But she didn't let it show. She walked over, forcing herself to smile. Hey, Coach Devon. Hey, Sky. You ready to work on that curveball? Yeah. Can we talk first? Just for a second. Sure thing. They walked away from the others. Sky's heart pounded. Gavin was watching from his office, recording everything with a hidden camera. I just wanted to say thanks, Sky said, keeping her voice steady. For staying. After everything that happened. A lot of people left, but you stayed. Devon's smile softened. For just a second, something real flickered in his eyes. Something that might have been guilt. Of course I stayed, he said quietly. You kids deserve better than what happened. Do you think whoever did it will come back? His face twitched. Just barely. I don't know. Maybe. Some people just hate seeing others succeed. That's sad. Yeah. It is. They stood in silence for a moment. Coach Devon? Sky asked. If you knew who did it, would you tell us? He looked at her. Really looked at her. And for the first time since they'd met, his smile disappeared completely. What kind of question is that? Just wondering. Like, if you knew and didn't tell, would that make you just as bad as them? Devon's jaw clenched. I don't know who did it, Sky. I didn't say you did. I'm just asking hypothetically. Well, hypothetically. His voice got harder. Yeah. If someone knew and didn't say anything, that'd make them pretty terrible. Even if they had a good reason. There's no good reason for hurting kids. Sky looked him dead in the eyes. I hope you mean that. Something passed between them. Understanding. Suspicion. Fear. I gotta go set up drills, Devon said, backing away. We'll talk later, okay? Okay. He walked off quickly. Sky returned to Gavin's office. He was reviewing the footage. He knows, Gavin said. He knows we're onto him. What do we do now? We wait. If he's smart, he'll run. If he's desperate, he'll make a mistake. And if he does neither? Gavin looked at her. Then we move to Plan B. What's Plan B? His smile was cold. We go after Pierce directly. Thursday evening practice started normal enough. 18 kids showed up, word was spreading again that the field was coming back. The cleanup was almost done. Fresh dirt covered the oil stains. New bases had been installed. The spray paint had been scrubbed off and repainted. It felt like hope was returning. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the outfield. Coach Marcus had the younger kids running drills near first base. The older ones were practicing batting. Skye stood on the pitcher's mound, throwing to a catcher named Luis. Her fastball was sharper than ever. Focused. Angry. Devin was there too, standing near the dugout, quieter than usual. He'd barely said 10 words all practice. Just watched. Helped when asked. But something was different about him. Gavin noticed it. Skye noticed it. Even some of the kids noticed it. Coach Devin seemed sad today, a little girl named Aisha whispered to Skye. "You think he's okay?" "I don't know," Skye said honestly. At exactly 6:47 p.m., with practice in full swing and parents gathering in the bleachers, every light on the field went out. All of them. At once. The field plunged into complete darkness. Kids screamed. "What happened? I can't see. Mom. Where are you?" Parents jumped up, shouting for their children. Fumbling for phone flashlights. Chaos erupted in seconds. Skye stood frozen on the mound, her heart hammering. She couldn't see her hand in front of her face. Couldn't see anything. Then she heard it. Laughter. Low and mean. Coming from somewhere beyond the fence. Scared of the dark, a voice called out. Mocking. Cruel. More laughter. Multiple voices now. At least 3, maybe 4. "Y'all should be scared," another voice added. "This is just a warning." Something metal crashed against the fence. Kids screamed louder. "Everybody stay calm." Gavin's voice cut through the darkness. "Stay where you are. Don't run." But it was too late. Panic had already taken over. Kids were running blindly, crashing into each other. Parents were shouting names, trying to find their children. Someone fell. Someone else started crying. Skye dropped to her knees on the mound, making herself small. Her hands found the dirt, gripped it tight. Then she felt someone grab her arm. She almost screamed until she heard Gavin's voice right next to her, "It's me. Stay low. Don't move." Car headlights suddenly blazed to life from the parking lot. Someone had turned their car to face the field, giving just enough light to see shapes and shadows. That's when Skye saw them. 4 figures standing outside the fence. Big. Wearing dark hoodies. Faces covered. One of them held a baseball bat. Another had something that might have been a crowbar. They just stood there. Watching. Waiting. Making sure everyone saw them. Making sure everyone felt the fear. "This is your last warning," one of them shouted. "Shut this place down or next time we come during the day." Then they were gone. Disappeared into the darkness like ghosts. By the time more car lights came on and people got their phone flashlights out, the field was empty except for terrified kids and furious parents. Coach Marcus got the backup generator running. Emergency lights flickered on, dim, but enough to see. The damage was immediate and obvious. Parents scooped up their kids and headed for the exits. Fast. "This is done," one father yelled at Gavin. "You said you'd keep them safe." "We're not coming back," another mother added, her daughter clutching her leg and sobbing. "You can't guarantee anything," someone else shouted. Within 10 minutes, the field was empty except for Gavin, Coach Marcus, Skye, and her grandmother who'd come running when she heard the screaming. And Devin. He stood near the dugout, hands on his knees, breathing hard like he'd been running. His face was pale. His eyes were wide. "What happened to the lights?" Coach Marcus demanded, checking the control box. "They were just replaced last week. Breaker's been cut," Gavin said, examining the electrical panel. Someone cut the main power line. Who? Gavin's jaw clenched. He turned slowly to look at Devon. Devon looked back. And in that moment, Sky saw it. Guilt. Raw and undeniable. You knew, Sky said quietly. You knew they were coming. What? Devon's voice cracked. No, You knew. Her voice rose. That's why you were acting weird all practice. That's why you kept checking your phone. Sky, I swear. Don't lie to me. Tears streamed down her face now. Not anymore. Just tell the truth. Devon stood there, trembling. His mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. He looked at the ground. I didn't know they'd do it during practice. I thought it'd be after everyone left. The silence that followed was deafening. Coach Marcus took a step toward him. What did you just say? I didn't know kids would be here, Devon said, his voice barely above a whisper. They said they'd just mess with the equipment. Scare people off. I didn't know. You helped them. Marcus roared. Those were children out here. Babies. And you let armed men show up. I needed the money. Devon's voice broke completely. I owed people. Bad people. They were gonna kill me if I didn't pay them back. Gavin walked over slowly. His fists were clenched so tight his knuckles were white. Get out, he said, his voice deadly calm. Mr. Parker, please. Get out. Gavin's voice exploded. Get out before I do something I'll regret. Devon took a step back. Looked at Sky one last time. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You're not sorry, Sky said, her voice cold. You're just caught. Devon grabbed his bag and ran. His car peeled out of the parking lot seconds later. After he was gone, Sky finally let herself cry. Really cry. Her grandmother held her tight while Gavin and Coach Marcus stood in shocked silence. They're winning, Sky sobbed into her grandmother's shoulder. They're gonna make us quit. Evelyn pulled back and looked at her granddaughter. Wiped her tears with rough, calloused hands. Baby girl, she said firmly. I didn't raise no quitter. And neither did your mama before she left. But grandma. But nothing. Evelyn's voice was steel. You threw a ball from 3 stories up and saved a man's life. You think you can't fight back against some cowards who hide in the dark? Sky sniffled. How? Gavin stepped forward. His eyes were red but his voice was steady. Your grandmother's right. We don't fight them with fear. We fight them with truth. He pulled out his phone. And I know exactly how to do it. By Friday morning, the field was a ghost town. No kids. No parents. No laughter. No hope. Just Sky and Gavin, standing in the middle of what used to be a dream. The sun was barely up, casting everything in that cold blue light that makes the world look unfinished. Sky bounced a ball, not her original one, still locked up in evidence, against the backstop. The sound echoed hollow and lonely. Gavin sat on the dugout bench, head in his hands. His phone had been ringing non-stop since last night. Angry parents. Worried volunteers. His own business partners asking what the hell he was doing wasting time on some charity project that's falling apart. He'd ignored every single call. They're not coming back, Sky said quietly, catching the ball. Any of them. Gavin lifted his head. You don't know that. Yes, I do. She turned to face him. You heard what they said last night. This is done. We're not coming back. They're scared. And they should be. Those men had weapons. We'll get better security. It won't matter. Sky's voice cracked. Don't you get it? They win by making people too scared to show up. They don't even have to destroy anything else. They just have to exist. And everyone runs away. Gavin stood up slowly. Walked over to her. Crouched down so they were eye level. So what do you want to do? He asked. Because I'll follow your lead. This is your field. Your neighborhood. Your call. Sky felt tears burning behind her eyes but refused to let them fall. I don't know what to do. I'm 9. I don't know how to fight city councilmen and grown men with weapons and people who have more money and power than we'll ever have. But you threw that ball, Gavin said softly. When everyone else stayed inside, you threw. That was different. How? Because. She struggled to find the words. Because that was just 3 guys. This is bigger. This is. I don't know. A whole system or something. How do we fight that? Before Gavin could answer, Evelyn's voice rang out from the parking lot. By not fighting fair. They both turned. Evelyn walked onto the field carrying a thermos of coffee and a look on her face that could cut glass. Grandma, what are you doing here? You worked all night. Couldn't sleep. Evelyn poured herself coffee in the thermos cap. Kept thinking about what you said last night. About how they're winning. They are winning, Sky said miserably. Only if we let them. Evelyn took a sip. See, baby girl, people like Pierce. They're used to fighting people who play by the rules. Who go through proper channels. Who file complaints and wait for the system to work. What's wrong with that? Gavin asked. System's rigged, Evelyn said flatly. Always has been for people like us. You think filing a police report's gonna stop a councilman with connections? You think a lawsuit's gonna work when he's got the best lawyers money can buy? So what do we do? Evelyn's smile was sharp. We embarrass him. Publicly. So bad he can't hide. Gavin stood up. What do you mean? You got proof, right? Bank records showing Devon got paid? The connection to Pierce? Yeah, but it's not enough for criminal charges. Just suspicious financial. Don't need criminal charges, Evelyn interrupted. Just need the story. You put that man's face on every news station with the headline, Councilman caught paying spy to sabotage kid's baseball field, and see how fast his career ends. Sky's eyes widened. The media. Exactly. Evelyn looked at Gavin. You got media contacts, right? Rich boy like you. Yeah, but nothing. You call them. You give them everything you got. You make Pierce the villain in a story about scared children and destroyed dreams. Public opinion will destroy him faster than any court case. Gavin's mind was racing. If we go public, he'll fight back. He's got resources. Let him fight, Evelyn said coldly. Let him try to explain on camera why he hired someone to terrorize 9-year-olds. Let him try to spin that. Sky felt something shifting inside her. Not hope exactly. Something harder. Angrier. What about Devon? She asked. He'll just disappear. Not if we find him first, Gavin said. Get him on record confessing everything. With his face. His voice. Undeniable. You think he'll talk? He already did. Last night. He admitted he knew. Gavin pulled out his phone. And I recorded the whole thing. He hit play. Devon's voice filled the empty field. I needed the money. I owed people. Bad people. They were gonna kill me if I didn't pay them back. Sky stared at the phone. You recorded that? Always recording now, Gavin said. After the first attack, I put cameras everywhere. Including on me. He tapped his shirt pocket where a small camera lens peeked out. So we have Devon confessing he helped them, Evelyn said. We have bank records connecting him to Pierce. What else we need? We need Pierce himself on record, Gavin said. Talking about the attacks. Admitting involvement. How do we get that? Gavin's expression turned dangerous. We set a trap. That afternoon, Gavin made a very public announcement. He called a press conference right there at the field. 6 news stations showed up. The story was too good to ignore. Local billionaire's charity project under attack. Standing at a microphone with the damaged field behind him, Gavin spoke directly into the cameras. I'm officially withdrawing my support for this project. Effective immediately, this field will be closed. The land will be returned to the city for other purposes. Sky stood off to the side, watching. This was the plan. Make Pierce think he won. Reporters shouted questions. What changed your mind? Was it the attacks? Are you abandoning these kids? I'm not abandoning anyone, Gavin said carefully. I'm simply recognizing that I can't guarantee their safety. And that's not acceptable to me. The news spread fast. Within hours, it was everywhere. Billionaire gives up on South Side Field project after attacks. And in his office uptown, Councilman Alan Pierce smiled as he read the headlines. His phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. Mr. Pierce. A nervous voice. Devon. Did you see the news? I did. Congratulations. The field is finished. So, we're done. No more phases. We're done, Pierce confirmed. Check your account. Final payment just went through. Silence on the other end. Devon. You still there? Yeah, I'm here. His voice sounded hollow. It's just, there were kids there. Last time. I didn't sign up for scaring kids. Pierce's smile disappeared. You signed up for $20,000. What you feel about it is your problem. I know, but nothing. We had a deal. I kept my end. You kept yours. Now disappear and forget this ever happened. What if people find out? They won't, Pierce said confidently. Parker's giving up. The story's over. Nobody's going to keep digging. You sure? I'm sure. Now stop calling me. Pierce hung up and sat back in his chair, satisfied. What he didn't know was that Devon had recorded the entire call. And he was sitting in Gavin Parker's office right now, phone on speaker, with Sky and Evelyn listening to every word. When the call ended, Devon looked at them with red eyes. That enough? He asked quietly. That's perfect, Gavin said. Devon put his head in his hands. I'm going to jail, aren't I? Probably, Gavin said honestly. But maybe less time if you cooperate. Give us everything. Every conversation. Every payment. Every instruction Pierce gave you. He'll destroy me. He already did, Sky said coldly. You destroyed yourself when you took his money. Devon flinched but nodded. You're right. I did. He looked at her. For what it's worth. I really did think you were special. That part wasn't fake. Don't, Sky said. Just don't. Over the next 2 days, they built their case. Devon gave them everything. Texts. Recordings. Details about meetings. Names of the men Pierce had hired to vandalize the field and terrorize the kids. Gavin's investigator dug deeper into Pierce's finances. Found more payments. More connections. A whole network of bribes and payoffs. And on Monday morning, they went public. Not with a press conference. With something better. Every news station received a package. Inside, recordings, bank statements, photos, everything. All neatly organized with a cover letter explaining exactly what Councilman Alan Pierce had done. By noon, it was everywhere. City councilman accused of orchestrating attacks on children's baseball field. Pierce allegedly paid spy to sabotage South Side charity project. Recorded calls suggest councilman behind terrorizing of kids. Pierce's office released a statement calling it baseless accusations and character assassination. But then the recordings leaked online. Devon's confession. Pierce's phone call. Everything. Social media exploded. Hashtag Pierce resign trended nationally. By Tuesday, protesters gathered outside City Hall. Parents. Kids. Community members. All demanding Pierce step down. By Wednesday, the mayor called for an investigation. By Thursday, Pierce's lawyer released a statement saying he was taking time to address these allegations. And on Friday morning, exactly 1 week after the blackout, Skye stood at her window looking down at the field. It was still empty. Still closed. But something had changed. They'd fought back. And they'd won. Sort of. The field was still gone. The kids were still scared. Devon was facing charges. And Pierce was still free, at least for now. But everyone knew the truth. And sometimes, Skye thought, that's where real change starts. With the truth. Saturday morning arrived quiet and heavy, like the calm after a storm that left everything damaged. Skye sat on her apartment's fire escape, legs dangling through the bars, watching the sunrise paint the sky orange and pink. Beautiful colors over an ugly neighborhood. She hadn't been back to the field in 3 days. Couldn't bring herself to see it empty again. The door behind her creaked open. Grandma Evelyn stepped out carefully, 2 mugs of hot chocolate in her hands. "Thought I'd find you out here," she said, handing Skye a mug. "Couldn't sleep." "Me neither." Evelyn settled beside her with a grunt. "These old bones don't like fire escapes, but I'll suffer for you." They sat in silence, sipping chocolate, watching the city wake up. Car horns. Distant sirens. Someone's radio playing too loud. "You did good, baby girl," Evelyn said finally. "Doesn't feel like it." "I know. But you exposed that man. You made people see the truth. That matters." Skye pulled her knees to her chest. The field's still closed. The kids are still gone. Devon's still a traitor. Pierce is still free. What did we actually win? Evelyn was quiet for a long moment. Then, "You ever hear the story about David and Goliath? From church?" "Yeah." "What's the lesson?" Skye shrugged. "Little guy beats big guy with a rock." "Nah." Evelyn shook her head. "Real lesson is this, sometimes winning don't look like winning. Not at first." "What do you mean?" "David threw that stone. Goliath fell down. But the battle wasn't over. There was still a whole war to fight. Still armies facing each other. Still years of struggle ahead." She looked at Skye. "But that one moment, that one throw, changed everything. Because it showed people what was possible." Skye thought about that. "So we threw the stone." "You threw the stone, baby. You and Mr. Parker. And now everybody's watching to see what happens next. What if nothing happens? What if Pierce just gets away with it? Then we throw again," Evelyn said simply. "And again. And again. Until something breaks." Below them, a car pulled up. Gavin's Mercedes. He got out, looked up, saw them on the fire escape. "We need to talk," he called up. "Both of you." "It's 6 in the morning." Evelyn shouted back. "I know. It's important." 5 minutes later, they were all crammed in Evelyn's tiny living room. Gavin looked like he hadn't slept either. His eyes were wild. Excited. "The city council's holding an emergency meeting," he said, pacing. "Monday night. They're voting on whether to force Pierce to resign." Sky sat up straighter. "They're going to kick him out." "Maybe. If enough council members vote for it. But..." Gavin stopped pacing. "They need to hear from the community first. Public comment period. People affected by Pierce's actions get to speak." "You want me to speak," Sky said. "I want you to consider it. You don't have to. But your voice. Your story. It could change votes." Evelyn crossed her arms. "She's 9 years old. You're asking her to stand in front of the city council and what? Tell them how a grown man terrorized her?" "Yes," Gavin said without hesitation. "Because that's exactly what happened. And people need to hear it from her. Not from me. Not from lawyers. From the kid who lived it." "Absolutely not," Evelyn said firmly. "I won't let you turn my grandbaby into some symbol or poster child." "I'll do it," Sky interrupted. Both adults turned to stare at her. "What?" Evelyn's voice rose. "Baby, no." "I'll do it," Sky repeated, standing up. "I'm not scared of Pierce. I'm not scared of the council. I'm not scared of anything anymore." Her voice got stronger. "That man tried to destroy something we built. Tried to scare us away. Tried to win by making us too afraid to fight back." She looked at her grandmother. "You said we throw again and again until something breaks. This is me throwing again." Evelyn's eyes filled with tears. "Baby girl, you don't have to." "Yeah, I do." Sky's jaw was set. "Because if I don't speak, who will? The parents who pulled their kids out? The volunteers who stopped showing up? Somebody has to say it wasn't okay. And I'm the one who saved his life." She pointed at Gavin. "I'm the one who built that field. I'm the one who has the right to say what they took from us." The room fell silent. Finally, Evelyn wiped her eyes and nodded. "Okay. Okay. But I'm writing your speech with you. And if at any point you want to stop, I won't stop. But if you do, I won't." Gavin crouched down in front of Sky. "You're sure about this? Because once you do it, you can't take it back. Your face will be everywhere again. People will have opinions. Some good. Some bad." "I don't care about opinions," Sky said. "I care about the truth." Sunday was spent preparing. Evelyn and Sky sat at the kitchen table writing and rewriting. Gavin helped with facts and timeline. Coach Marcus stopped by to offer support. "You're braver than any adult I know," Marcus told her. "Just remember, speak from the heart. That's all you need." By Sunday night, they had a speech. 3 minutes long. Every word carefully chosen. Sky practiced in front of the mirror. Her voice shook at first. But by the 10th run-through, it was steady. Strong. "Good," Evelyn said, watching from the doorway. "Now remember, you're not begging them for anything. You're telling them what happened. Big difference. What if they don't listen? Then they don't listen. But at least you said it. At least the truth is on record." Monday night arrived too fast. City Hall was packed. News cameras everywhere. People lined up around the block just to get in. The public comments section was full, dozens of people wanting to speak for or against Pierce. Sky sat in the front row between her grandmother and Gavin. She wore her best dress, the navy blue one from the gala months ago. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. "You okay?" Gavin whispered. She nodded, not trusting her voice. The council members filed in. 9 of them. All looking serious. Official. Powerful. And in the back corner, surrounded by 3 lawyers in expensive suits, sat Councilman Alan Pierce. He looked smaller than Sky expected. Older. Tired. But his eyes? They were sharp. Cold. Looking right at her. She didn't look away. The council president banged his gavel. This emergency session is now in order. We're here to discuss Resolution 47B regarding Councilman Pierce's potential removal from office. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. We'll begin with public comments. 3 minutes each. First speaker, Sky Washington. Evelyn squeezed her hand. Go get him, baby. Sky stood. Her legs felt like water. Her heart hammered so hard she could hear it in her ears. She walked to the microphone at the center of the room. Stepped up on the small platform so she could reach it. The room fell silent. Every eye on her. Every camera pointed at her. She looked at Pierce one more time. He stared back, expressionless. Then Sky took a breath and began to speak. Sky's voice came out smaller than she wanted at first. My name is Sky Washington. I'm 9 years old. I live on Harper Street with my grandmother. She paused. Swallowed. Her hands gripped the edges of the podium. 3 months ago, I saved a man's life. I threw a ball from my window and stopped 3 men from killing him in an alley. That man was Gavin Parker. She looked at Gavin briefly. He nodded encouragement. After that, Mr. Parker wanted to do something nice for my neighborhood. Build us a baseball field. A real one. With lights and bases and dugouts painted the color I picked. Her voice got steadier. Stronger. We worked on it for 6 weeks. Me and my friends and parents and volunteers. We cleaned up trash. We painted. We practiced. For the first time in my whole life, I had something to look forward to every day. Pierce shifted in his seat. One of his lawyers whispered something to him. Then someone destroyed it, Sky continued. Spray painted horrible words all over it. Poured oil on the ground. Ripped out the bases. And we found out later that Councilman Pierce paid someone to do it. Objection, one of Pierce's lawyers stood up. These are unproven allegations. This is public comment, not a trial, the council president said firmly. Sit down. Let her finish. The lawyer sat. Pierce's face turned red. Sky kept going. He also paid a man named Devin Harris to spy on us. To pretend to be our coach while feeding information to people who wanted to scare us away. Her voice cracked slightly. Devin taught me how to pitch better. He learned all our names. He brought us snacks. And the whole time, he was lying. He was helping Councilman Pierce destroy something good. She took a breath. The room was completely silent now. Then they came during practice. Cut the power. Men with weapons stood outside the fence in the dark while kids were screaming and crying and couldn't find their parents. Several council members shifted uncomfortably. I was on the pitcher's mound when the lights went out, Sky said, her voice getting quieter. I couldn't see anything. I heard those men laughing. Threatening us. Telling us to shut the field down or they'd come back during the day. She looked directly at Pierce now. And you paid for that. You paid for little kids to be terrorized. You paid for parents to be so scared they pulled their children out. You paid to destroy the one good thing our neighborhood had. Pierce stood up. I never. Sit down, the council president barked. You'll get your turn. Pierce sat slowly, jaw clenched. Sky continued, I'm not asking you to feel sorry for me. I'm asking you to do your job. You're supposed to protect people. All people. Not just rich ones. Not just the ones who donate to campaigns or whatever. Her hands were shaking but her voice wasn't. You're supposed to care when a grown man hurts children to make money. And if you don't vote to remove him. She paused. Then you're just as bad as he is. The room erupted. Half the crowd stood, applauding. The other half shouted objections. Pierce's lawyers were on their feet. News cameras zoomed in. The council president banged his gavel repeatedly. Order. Order. But Skye was already walking back to her seat. She'd said what she came to say. Evelyn pulled her into a tight hug. I'm so proud of you, baby. So proud. Gavin leaned over. That was perfect. Next came other speakers. Parents who'd been at the blackout. Volunteers who'd helped build the field. Even Coach Marcus spoke about the fear he saw in the kids' eyes. Then Pierce's lawyers spoke. Denying everything. Calling it a witch hunt. Saying the evidence was circumstantial and inadmissible. Finally, Pierce himself took the microphone. He looked calm. Collected. Like a man who'd done this 1,000 times. I've served this city for 12 years, he began. Brought jobs. Development. Progress. I've never been accused of anything like this before. He gestured toward Skye. That little girl has been through trauma. I don't doubt that. But trauma doesn't equal truth. Bank transactions don't prove intent. A recording of someone else confessing doesn't implicate me. Several council members nodded. This is a politically motivated attack, Pierce continued. Orchestrated by Mr. Parker because I opposed his project. He's using a child as a weapon against me. Liar, someone shouted from the crowd. The gavel banged again. Pierce continued calmly, I'm asking this council to see this for what it is, a smear campaign. And I'm asking you to vote no on this resolution. He sat down, looking confident. The council president cleared his throat. We'll now deliberate and vote. Council members, please indicate your position. One by one, they voted. Councilwoman Harris. I vote yes. Remove him. Councilman Bradley. No. Insufficient evidence. Councilwoman Chen. Yes. Remove him. Councilman Rodriguez. No. It went back and forth. Each vote making Skye's stomach tighten more. By the time they reached the final council member, an older white woman named Councilwoman Fletcher, the vote was tied 4-4. Fletcher's vote would decide everything. She sat forward slowly. Looked at Pierce. Then at Skye. I've known Alan Pierce for 8 years, she said. He's been a colleague. A friend, even. Skye's heart sank. But I've also been on this council long enough to recognize when something doesn't smell right. Fletcher's voice hardened. The bank records are damning. The recordings are damning. And frankly, Mr. Pierce, your explanation today was weak. Pierce's confident expression cracked. More importantly, Fletcher continued, I listened to that little girl speak. And I believe her. She looked at Skye. I believe her because children don't usually lie about being scared. They don't make up stories about men with weapons threatening them in the dark. She turned back to Pierce. So my vote is yes. Remove him. The room exploded again. 5-4. Pierce was out. Pierce jumped to his feet, face purple with rage. This is illegal. I'll sue. I'll. You'll pack your office, the council president interrupted coldly. You have 24 hours. Security, please escort Mr. Pierce out. 2 security guards approached. Pierce shrugged them off angrily and stormed toward the exit, his lawyers scrambling behind him. As he passed Skye's row, he stopped. Looked down at her. This isn't over, he hissed quietly. You have no idea what you've started. Evelyn stood up fast. You threatening my grandbaby? Pierce sneered. I'm stating facts. Then state this fact, Gavin said, standing beside Evelyn. You just lost everything because you underestimated a 9-year-old girl. How's that feel? Pierce's face twisted with rage. For a second, Sky thought he might actually swing at Gavin. But then the cameras turned toward them and Pierce seemed to remember where he was. He straightened his tie, forced his face neutral, and walked out of City Hall with what little dignity he had left. Outside, the crowd that had been watching on screens erupted in cheers. News reporters rushed toward the doors. Social media exploded. Sky sat in her chair, suddenly exhausted. Her hands were still shaking. Her heart still racing. We won, she whispered. We won, Gavin confirmed, grinning. Evelyn sat down heavily. Lord have mercy. I need a drink and I don't even drink. Coach Marcus jogged over. That's how you throw, Sky. Strike 3. But Sky didn't feel victorious. She felt empty. Relieved, but empty. Pierce was gone. That was good. But the field was still destroyed. The kids were still scared. The damage was still done. Winning one battle didn't erase the war. Still, as they walked out of City Hall into a crowd of cheering supporters and flashing cameras, Sky allowed herself a small smile. Because sometimes, throwing the stone was enough. Even if Goliath didn't die right away. Even if there were more giants to face. You still threw it. And that mattered. The next morning, Pierce's face was everywhere, but not the way he wanted. Disgraced councilman removed after terrorizing children. Pierce out, 9-year-old's testimony seals his fate. From power to disgrace, how one girl brought down a politician. Sky sat at her kitchen table eating cereal, staring at the newspapers Grandma Evelyn had spread out. How you feeling, baby? Evelyn asked, pouring coffee. Tired. That's fair. You fought hard. Gavin called at 9. The mayor wants to meet with us. This afternoon. Says he wants to discuss moving forward. By 3 o'clock, they were in the mayor's office, fancy, with leather chairs and a view of downtown. The mayor, a stocky man with gray hair, shook their hands warmly. What you did took courage, he told Sky. Real courage. Thank you, sir. The city wants to help rebuild the field. Properly this time. Full funding. Security. Support. Sky looked at Gavin, then back at the mayor. Why now? Why not before? The mayor shifted uncomfortably. That's a fair question. Truth is, we didn't see what was happening until you made us see it. You should have been paying attention, Sky said flatly. You're right. We should have. He pulled out papers. We're proposing a permanent community sports program. Multiple fields across the south side. Coached by locals. Funded by the city. Gavin read through the documents. This is good. Really good. When does it start? Sky asked. 2 months. We need permits, contractors. 2 months. Sky stood up. Kids need something now. Not in 2 months when everyone's forgotten about us again. The mayor blinked, surprised. Evelyn smiled. She's got a point. What do you suggest? The mayor asked. Sky thought for a moment. Open our field next week. Even if it's not perfect. Show people you mean it this time. The mayor looked at his assistant, who nodded. Deal, he said. 1 week. 1 week later, the field reopened. It wasn't perfect. Some of the spray paint still showed through the fresh coat of blue. The grass was patchy. One section of fence still leaned crooked. But the lights worked. The bases were secure. And most importantly, people showed up. 50 kids. Maybe more. Some Sky recognized. Others were new, drawn by the news coverage. Parents lined the bleachers, cautious but hopeful. News vans parked along the street, but this time they kept their distance. The mayor cut a ribbon at home plate. Gave a short speech about community and resilience that Sky barely listened to. Then Gavin took the microphone. "This field doesn't have my name on it," he said. "It shouldn't. I didn't save it. Sky did." He gestured toward the dugout where a new sign had been installed overnight. Brass letters on dark wood. "The Sky Washington Field. One throw can change everything." Sky's breath caught. She hadn't known. Nobody told her. The crowd erupted in cheers. Evelyn wiped her eyes. "Go look at it, baby." Sky walked over slowly, reached up, touched the letters of her name. They were real. Permanent. Hers. "What do you think?" Gavin asked quietly, walking up beside her. "It's..." She couldn't find words. "It's too much. It's exactly enough." He handed her something, her original ball, the one from the alley, finally released from evidence. Scuffed, worn, perfect. Sky held it tight against her chest. "Speech. Speech," kids started chanting. She climbed onto the dugout bench, ball in hand, looking at the crowd. "I'm not good at speeches," she started. People laughed gently. "But I just want to say. We built this twice. Once with our hands. Once with our voices. And nobody can take that away from us." She held up her ball. "This is just rubber and air. But it saved a life. Started a fight. Won a war." She paused. "So remember, you don't need to be big or rich or powerful to change things. You just need to be brave enough to throw." The applause was deafening. Coach Marcus blew his whistle. "All right. Let's play ball." Kids scattered across the field, laughing, shouting, alive. And Sky. She stood on the pitcher's mound, ball in hand, and threw the first pitch of a brand new beginning. 6 months passed like a dream that kept getting better. The field thrived. 80 kids now played regularly. 3 coaches, Coach Marcus hired 2 assistants. Weekend tournaments drew crowds from across the city. Sky's fastball got faster. Her curveball nastier. College scouts started showing up, taking notes on a 12-year-old who threw like she had something to prove. Because she did. Gavin moved his office to the neighborhood. Started 3 more community programs, tutoring, job training, small business loans. He wasn't just visiting anymore. He lived there. Devin Harris pleaded guilty. Got 2 years, served 6 months, released early for cooperation. Last Sky heard, he was coaching Little League in another state. Trying to make things right. Pierce disappeared. No political career. No power. Just another disgraced politician everyone forgot about. One Saturday evening, after practice ended and kids scattered home, Sky sat on the pitcher's mound alone. The sun set orange and gold behind the buildings. Gavin walked over, sat beside her in the dirt. "You know," he said, "I've been thinking about that night in the alley a lot lately." "Yeah. I was convinced I was going to die. Had made peace with it. Then I heard your voice." He smiled. This tiny, angry voice telling grown men to leave me alone. Sky bounced her ball, the original one, now kept in a display case at home. This was a new one. "You think things would be different if I hadn't thrown?" "I'd be dead." "So yeah, pretty different. I mean for you. Like, if you lived but someone else saved you." Gavin thought about that. Honestly, I think I'd still be the same person I was before. Rich. Disconnected. Building things nobody needed. He looked around the field. But you didn't just save my life, Sky. You changed it. Showed me what actually matters. Baseball. He laughed. People. Community. Using what you have to help others. He paused. You taught a billionaire how to be human again. Sky leaned back on her elbows. Grandma says one throw can change the world. Your grandma's right. They sat in comfortable silence as stars began appearing overhead. You scared? Gavin asked. About what comes next? You're getting attention. Opportunities. Sometimes, Sky admitted. But I remember that night. How scared I was. How I threw anyway. She looked at him. If I could do that at 9, I can handle whatever comes next. Gavin smiled. Yeah. You can. Sky stood, ball in hand. Wound up. Threw toward home plate one last time that day. Strike. Always a strike. Because some people are born knowing how to throw. And some people learn along the way that courage isn't about being fearless. It's about throwing anyway. A 9-year-old girl who proved that size doesn't matter. Money doesn't matter. Power doesn't matter. What matters is courage and refusing to stay silent when you see wrong. If this story moved you, hit that like button right now. Share it with someone who needs to remember they're stronger than they think. Drop a comment telling me about a time you found courage when you needed it most. Subscribe if you haven't already, because we bring you stories like this every week. Real stories about real people doing extraordinary things. Remember, you don't need permission to make a difference. You don't need wealth or connections or power. You just need to be willing to throw. One throw can change everything. Now go be brave. I'll see you in the next story.